Hello, I'm Lauren, and welcome to Improving the World. I'm an international improviser based in Hong Kong, and I talk to amazing women of improv all over the world. Today, I talked to Kirsten King. She is an Atlanta, Georgia improviser in the Estados Unidos, and we talk about continuous education. You don't just need to be in a classroom setting or at school to learn, and what that means to really have this drive and passion for education. P.S. Power to the teachers. We really get into the importance of being a great educator and what that looks like and how incredibly impactful and powerful it can be. So, love to all the teachers out there and, of course, my improvisers. I hope that you enjoy. So, Kirsten, you are an improviser and an arts educator. Today, we're talking about, thank you, sassy virtual background, continuous education. You said before, and I love this, you've never mastered your craft as much as you've mastered your craft. What does this mean?
I feel like people aim for a certain target of like, all right, I've learned the thing. We're talking about improv, but really in regard to anything you attempt to learn, whether skill, trade, what have you, as soon as you think you've mastered it, that just to me means you're not trying hard enough, because there's always going to be something else to learn. A lesson or a failure that has turned into something great. But if you're not failing, or if you think you've gotten it, you stopped growing.
Think again. We're obviously talking about improv, but you have all these different things in life that you could choose from. And I think so many of them relate to improv. What for you feels like it slots into and helps with improv?
Spontaneity and being able and open to learning whatever it is you're going to learn. Because some people will come into an improv class at the suggestion of someone else. Great if you're going to grant someone a gift card, but that person tends to be a little bit more reluctant to even fully give themselves to the process. The willingness and the openness to learn is so important, because in improv, everything is different. If you're not open, that scene that just happened, it's never going to happen again. It's the gift and the curse, but the lesson from that scene is going to leave you if you're not open and ready to absorb it and take it in, and to better prepare yourself for the next scene or maybe an applicable life situation.
I'm really hearing you say it's more about the mindset and the approach, the intention, rather than like, I'm great at the trombone and that's going to help me with my improv.
Yes.
Check. Too bad I'm really good at the trombone. Okay, put that aside. You have been throughout your career in various aspects of the arts. You have a music background and a theater background and obviously improv. How did you come to be doing education in the arts, going through yourself continuous education, shifting and going, I shall teach the other ones?
I remember my education vividly. I don't know if as a little girl, I was like, I've got to remember this for the future.
I do enjoy this concept that small you has got like a manila folder and you're just filing away like memory for keeping later.
I don't know if that's the little person that I was. I halfway believe it because I love logistics. But there is something so valuable in the fact that I can remember being in a viola class or a piano class. Some of my first improv classes, my first theater show and classes, my first theater teachers, being able to go back and utilize, have that memory lead me to where I am now, have it help me better teach my own students, because I remember what it was about my upbringing and my education that I loved, that was so important to me, that has lasted this time and continued to fuel that fire. I also remember the things that were like, this is not great. This is something that could turn someone away if they're not resilient enough.
Please tell me more. Is there anything specific that you really loved, or anything specific that you were like, not this?
Yeah, especially being a young Black girl in America, really the world, but being a young Black girl in a military family who was fairly well off, in my opinion, blessed and gifted in my life. I was often in really great schools, really great school zones, atmospheres. And in those atmospheres, I did not often see other young people that looked like me. Not necessarily that looked exactly like me, but most of the room looked like one everything else, right? Look like one stereotype, right? Yes. And so I remember, whether it was theater or orchestra, the good, observant teachers are not just picking on those in the front or those that all look like the majority of students in the room. And the teachers who did do that, they're not great teachers. You need to share your wisdom, spread your education net across everyone in that class. And I also remember the teachers who, if I was looking a little quiet, I wasn't quiet very often, but if I was, or if I seemed intimidated, or if I was the new girl in school after a military move, the observant teachers would say, you know, how about you share what you think, and really bring me into the group. Every student is one good teacher or one bad teacher away from the rest of the trajectory of their life. And being able to recall those moments, good and bad, it has just made me such an open and observant teacher. And when I see someone who is struggling, that is not my cue to give them an even harder time for acting out or not getting it fast enough. There are so many reasons that people get it or don't get it, and that is never, as an educator, an excuse to treat them like they're not going to get it. That is my catalyst to bring them in. How can I help you in a way that is different from what I'm already doing? What is it that I can do to help you? Because we're in it together, me and that student having a hard time and the rest of the class. I love to teach with unity because so much of this world is divisive.
You never know which kid has a manila folder on you. So
exactly.
You better make sure that in the records that you're going down well.
Yeah, it's just such a responsibility. It's a welcomed responsibility. As far as educators, those who can see that, see it as a gift. We are those great teachers out there leading these children to a positive trajectory, because it is so hard thinking back on the memories where I'm sitting in class and maybe I'm paying attention, but someone kind of giving the teacher a hard time is being sent to the office every day, or not being picked on because the teacher thinks they're just going to be the class clown. It's like, that kid has something else going on. So the same attention that they are giving me, they need to give that other student, because we're in it together.
Yeah. You recognized certain people were key or helped give you your own perspective, which really drove you. You thought, this feels important to me. I want to be able to gift to others what I feel was gifted to me in the good moments, and to fix what for me was not the best moments and help give that to others.
Yeah. And continuing to seek greatness in myself and in my students through music and then theater. And now it has led me to a more targeted field of improv that I've been in since I've lived here in Atlanta. Started little improv games in high school, and it was always part of my theater training, but it has just continued to fuel me and get me to where I am now.
You teach improv to both adults and children?
Yes.
Yeah.
All ages.
All are welcome. How does it feel, or does it for you feel different teaching young people versus adults, whatever that means? I'm still not an adult. Do they feel different for you?
I think so. Adults have this way of feeling like, I don't need this. I've got this. I can't be that silly, especially if it's in a group setting. It's so weird. It's either the adults know each other, maybe a corporate event, and so they don't want to goof off or get too silly in front of their boss or HR. Or it's like they're complete strangers. They've got too many walls up to really have fun and fully experience the improv. They've lived a whole life. They have walls, fences, and landmines. It's like, you're not going to make me have fun. But with kids, they don't have all that yet. The older you get, even with kids, when you work with teens, they're somewhere between. They're figuring out all those walls and if they want to build them or not. I typically teach from 8 years old and up, but I have taught younger than that. The younger you go, the more fun they're willing and ready to have. It's more about curtailing the fun factor and helping them find a balance between fun and focus. Yeah. With the adults, they're like, I'm all focused, and that means I can't have any fun.
Yeah. You made me think about, those films or books, which are these dystopian futures. When you hit puberty, they kind of neutralize something in the person so that we have this society of equality and we're all the same and babies come from test tubes. And I was just thinking there's some fluctuation at some point, some tipping point where fun becomes walled. Neuter the fun at age 13.
And I think the weird systematic, you can't have funness, the invisible class we all take at some point before we become no fun adults. I think it's something that bleeds into education. More times than not, you're going to be sent to a school at a very young age, and then you're going to go through grade school. Every classroom setting probably is part of what makes fun start to feel dangerous. As an arts educator, young folks work best with clear set parameters in which they can have that fun. That's how you find the balance, to me, between fun and focus. And that's what's going to lead you to your greatest success. Because not only will you be having fun, but you're going to be poised and presented well and look like you know what you're doing. But not, right? Little shoulder wiggle. But that's not always the case when kids are coming to school. And again, I'll use like the class clown, or maybe they're going through something bigger at home. Maybe coming to school is an escape for them from what they're experiencing at home. And so acting out is like being free, or maybe being very quiet. It's like, this is the only time they can be quiet is when they come to school, because maybe they're coming from a house full of people. I think a lot of fun feeling dangerous is when you come into educational settings, certain after school programs, places that you are sent as young people, that even the teacher has a off balance between fun and focus. If it's all focus, maybe it's right for whatever it is they're learning. I don't know. Or if it's all fun, it's gonna be a mess. But the kids start to go, oh, well, if I act out, or if I tell this joke, or if I do this thing, I'm gonna not get a star for the day, or this or that. So I think that it's kind of embedded a little bit in who we are as people, and trying to be good educators. You try to control your class, but it's about that balance between fun and focus for the educator and for the participant, in my opinion.
Yeah. And speaking about continuous education, if it truly is continuous, then we are all learning through everything. It is not just I'm taking this online class or I'm sitting in a classroom, but from what you said earlier, approach whereby I am willing to absorb and learn. We're even able to, in this conversation, extract the fact that there's clearly a point at which we zombieify our humans. Do you think that the teaching itself for you is an education, which then helps you with further teaching?
Yes, do.
I'll put a gif of like a pop-up, one of those Jack in the Box things.
Yes. I absolutely think that it feeds into itself. I have like 8 sentences trying to escape my brain at the same time. As an educator and good teacher who thinks of herself as open to what's happening in whatever classroom setting I'm in, I definitely think it's a two-way street, because every time I teach, I feel like I come out on the other side of that class or that workshop or that camp a better teacher, a better improviser, sometimes even a better person. Through a failure in which we all learn a lesson. A lot of improvisers think of failure as a good thing. Yay, we failed. Yes, we mucked it up. Woo-hoo. Also, just in life, I'm a big proponent of, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. If you're not failing every once in a while, you're not living dangerously enough, especially in the improv world. If you're in a scene and you're always bringing the same character that makes the same choices because you know they're going to get a laugh, it's a little lazy. When you're working with kids, it could be you're learning something because we've all failed at something together. Maybe I have expressed the instructions incorrectly and they did exactly what I said. And I'm like, why did you do that? And they're like, well, I was listening carefully to you and you specifically asked me to do that.
The magical children.
They also are not really holding their tongue, the younger kids. If you do or say something, they're going to see it, and more than likely they're going to say it, and they're going to be very cute because they're going to raise their hand before they say it, and then you're going to hear it and be like, you're right. I am going to put that in my bank so I can use that later, because they really do say mind-opening things. You express it as an adult how you think it will work or should be said, but their brains will process it again because they lived a different life. They're a different person in a different phase of being. They will hear it sometimes differently and respond in a way that is just so enlightening. Like, you know what? I'm going to teach it that way from now on.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, 4-year-old Suzette. I will do this now. Yes.
Yes. They just make me better, and they inspire me to try harder and fail more and just be more willing to everything. Why not? Because they are.
Yeah. Earlier, you had a little tangential reference about being someone who moved around and also who you were seeing. How does that come into your performing? Well, and I might say as well, teaching is a little bit performing itself sometimes. But anyways, let's leave that for just a half second. We'll come back. Being yourself, being looked at, recognizing what you've seen, and so on, cognizant of all the different aspects of this. How does being a woman, someone who identifies as a woman of color, speak to how you act in a performing context? That's a really massive question. I recognize that. Please do your best. You are respected for whatever you say.
The massiveness of the question is great. I definitely feel like, as a performer who identifies as female and a performer of pigment, that both of those are undervalued and underrepresented. So when I'm on stage, whether that's on an actual improv stage performing in a show or event or teaching any age person, I don't know if responsibility is the right word, but I feel the responsibility to show up for all of those selves of me, for the other people in the room who may or may not look like me, because there is something that comes from being a person of color in a position of power, whether that's the teacher or the improviser, and people seeing that. You are teaching them in that moment simultaneously to respect you as that power position role. And I think that goes a long way, particularly in the classroom, because teachers of pigment are few and far between in comparison to teachers of non-pigment. Because of the nature of humans, what we learn at home and what we learn in an educational setting, most often that is school, those two parts of our upbringing are what most makes us the people we are. Teaching someone that they can, and when I'm on stage, must respect me as a female and an improviser. And because improv has the power to talk back to the audience, there is such fulfillment. And if they don't, I can reply from the stage. As a teacher, I think it's really important. Sometimes you do get young people in your classes who, I'll speak for myself, I am the first person of color who has ever taught them. Sometimes, depending on their lifestyle of their home life, I'm the first person of color they've ever seen. I know that sounds crazy, but it happened. And so it's really important for them to see someone of color in a power position, because it is going to keep them from growing up into a problem for future people. I'll just leave it loose like that. We are helping create how they think about life and people. And if we let them run over us, whether on stage or in the classroom, we are in that moment teaching them that they can do that going forward. And so I think it's really important to show up for all of myself, whether it's in a classroom or on stage or in a meeting, even if there are no students around. Every moment is a teachable moment, in my opinion, for anybody who's around.
Yeah. Okay. I have like a squillion things. I am actively listening and also shelving a whole bunch of stuff. Firstly, I just love, side note, that you said all of myselves. And I wonder if this speaks to the improviser in you and the 19,000 crazy personalities in your head, or if you mean the different facets of yourself. And I hope you mean both. Also, you made me think, and I've never really thought this before, maybe as such, being a performer, you are inherently a teacher. The act of getting up on stage, being seen, and as you said, holding a power because you're holding the attention of people and you are saying and they are listening. Being a performer, you are a teacher. And I hadn't really put an equal sign between the two of them before. I feel the weight on my shoulders suddenly. I need to think things through. I want to come back to something that you said, being both underrepresented and undervalued. I think that underrepresentation is something that many people can very easily see because it's like, oh, this is who I see, this is who I don't see. I get that one. But the second piece about the under or devaluation of, well, a human, but also representation. Can you talk to me about what you mean when you said that you feel maybe that there's an undervaluation?
Yeah, absolutely. You may be, and I'll use the term allowed just for the example, people will allow you to have a seat at the table, to have a place in the cast. They will not always respect what you have to say when you sit at that table or are in that meeting or are in that scene. And so it's doubly, triply important to make sure you are valued, but that your value counts going forward and is respected, because some people will give you half of that and call that good enough. They'll say, now you're represented, shut up about it. Right?
Box checked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, box checked. She's here, but we don't have to listen to her type of, whether they say it so plainly or not. It's really important to make sure that there's not only representation, but appropriate value.
Yes, very well said. Thank you for that. Now, tell me, please, your words of wisdom. You have said already many beautiful things, but let's just put some icing on top of it. If you could speak to the younger version of you, your improv peers and our community, or someone who's never tried improv before, just a creeper on the internet who finds us today. It's Tuesday at 4 and someone finds us. What are your words of wisdom? What do you want people to know?
Stop creeping.
Yeah.
Now I feel the weight. I'll use what I use with my kids when I teach. Similar to what we talked about initially when I mentioned when you think you've mastered your craft, you have not mastered your craft. As soon as you think you've tried your hardest, try a little harder. That's important and applicable to all situations in life, way outside of improv even. If you're in an improv scene and you're like, I just gave a great offer and you think the work is done, try harder. But if you're in life, I filled out this one application, boop, sent, I'm done. Or I have done 5 push-ups. I did it. That's great. As soon as you tried your hardest, try a little harder. We are capable of such greater things than we think. I tell my kids all the time, you are capable and you are able. Get out there and try it. Continue to put in effort. As long as you're trying and then trying a little extra hard, you're going to be all right.
So, summary, stop creeping and do 6 push-ups. I've made this way more creepy by mentioning that word a lot.
Creepy count. I love it.
Creeper.
Creepy.
Creeping. Creepy. Creepy.
Creepy.
Thank you so very much. I really enjoyed hearing your perspective, learning from you. You blew my mind, and I must rethink my entire everything at this point in time. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Lovely speaking with you, and thank you all for watching, including the creepers. Bing! This is Improving the World, and there's more where that came from. Bye, all. So, did you love the video? If you did, please say kind and wonderful things in the comments down below. And you could subscribe if you're feeling totally sassy, and look for more Improving the World. Thanks.